Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are around the world. This is the 10th round of the TCR International Series, the rounds race 22 and 21. And here is Gianni Morbidelli in the pit lane with steering problems. Qualified 7th position, but really has not had the luck of it this year, Gianni Morbidelli. We are in Sepang in Malaysia, alongside the Formula One race, and wonderful to have a newbie making his debut in the TCR International Series on the pole position. This is Roberto Colciago, and he is the TCR Italy champion, but has come down here this weekend to compete with the very best. And what an amazing qualifying session. You might have just caught Giancarlo Bruno, just alongside him. And he is his engineer this weekend, so he's got some of the best people around him. And he is racing for target competition. Behind Colciago is Pepe Oriola, who picks up 4 points. Remember, you get points for the qualifying, and Oriola was as fast as possible in qualifying up until the last couple of moments where Colciago pipped him. And there is Pepe Oriola, who is ready for the fight. Remember, he is part of this championship fight, four-way really, between two of the Lukoil Seat Leons, run by Craft Bamboo, and then the two Leopard Racing Volkswagen Golfs. Gianni Morbidelli heading down pit lane, and I think he is going to go back into the box. Steering problems that he's been plagued with all year, power steering problems in that Honda. And that's a rebuilt car after his big accident in Thailand. Here is the grid then. Colciago alongside Pepe Oriola, with Mikhail Grashov making a fantastic performance in his Honda in third. Jean Calvinet, though, the heaviest car on the grid, but 4th position as he fights for the championship. Nothing better than a victory will do here this afternoon. Homola and Camini line up on row 3. Morbidelli won't be there on the 4th row alongside James Nash. Not so happy with his qualifying performance. Kevin Gleeson and Tin Citrai round out the top 10. And then some very well-known names outside that top 10. Borkovic, Afanasiev, and as we go further down, Attilo Tassi and Loris Heisemans. Then we have some of our TCR Asia entrants. Andy Yan in 15th position, David Kajaya from Georgia in 16th, Kevin C in 17th, Philippe de Souza. Nicky Pastorelli is piloting the Ford Focus TCR this weekend that made its debut, the FRD version made its debut in Singapore last time out. Mario Ferraris has the Alfa Romeo, Bill O'Brien in 21st, Douglas Koo 22nd, and Rafael Galeana will start at the back of the field in 23rd position. Here is Mikhail Grashov, one of the most winningest, or the most winningest driver in TCR this season, with 4 victories, but languishes down in the points because of the consistency, certainly in the early part of the season where he was driving for the Volkswagen Golf Liqui Moly Team Engstler. He moved across to the Honda and has found himself in that car. New livery from this weekend, black and white with a new sponsor. And can he get himself on the podium? Dusan Borkovic certainly disappointed with being outside the top 10 positions. Really should have been, but had a bit of an error through the final sector of his fast lap, and therefore will stay in 11th for both of the races. A quick look at Jean Calvinet, who's had a nice holiday since Singapore. He's been out in Bali with his girlfriend and looks very relaxed and very enjoying his time out in Asia. First time to Bali and had a great time. Even went to a Club Med. Was telling me that he was enjoying his Club Med experience. Lots of activities, super fit, super tan, super relaxed. And he needs to, because he languishes down the points in 4th position. He's some 25 odd points behind James Nash, so he needs to do everything he possibly can to take a victory. Oriola is 3rd. Oriola is now something like 10 points behind James Nash, and Oriola obviously is 2nd on the grid for this race alongside Colciago. Now Colciago is new to the TCR International Series as we head up on our green flag lap, but it's worth pointing out that he is a TCR expertise in Italy, run by Target Competition. Now, Target known last year for winning the championship with a Seat Leon. They moved across to run Opals at the start of this year. That relationship kind of broke down, so Target disappeared for a bit. But wonderful to have Colchiago here as a champion. I'm not sure he's confirmed champion, but he's basically dominated the series. And here are the points before qualifying. No, that's after qualifying, sorry. Nash 2 points ahead of Camini, and then Oriola picked up a few points, you see, in for his second position. So he's 10 points back from Camini. Jean Carbonet picked up 2 in fourth, and those 4 are basically considered the drivers that can fight out for the championship. We've got 2 races here in Sepang, and then we've got the last 2 races alongside the Macau Grand Prix. So 4 races left, which means 25 points for the victory. So that's 4 races, that's 100 points, plus 5 for each of the qualifying sessions. So 110 points are still available, keeping this championship incredibly open. In fact, it does mean with 100 points available, mathematically, everyone down to 9th position could still win the championship. But, you know, it's very unlikely. We have a long way to go still in this championship. But what's crucial is weights as well. James Nash saying that he does not want to go to Macau with a heavy car. He wants to have a light car so he can compete for the championship victory. Nash in his debut season in TCR, as is Jean Carbonet. And for the championship, they're racing alongside the 2 that fought it out in Macau last year, Oriola and Stefano Camini. They were in the same car last year. They're in 2 different cars this year. And of course, news this week, big news, is that we will have the RS3. Audi Sport have built a TCR car, unveiled at the Paris Motor Show yesterday. And wow, what a buzz from the social media channels about that. Cannot wait to see the car. The red and black livery it was presented in was incredibly stunning looking. And as with everything that Audi do, there'll be a top quality of customer representation, and it will up the TCR brand considerably. Not just the international series that we have here, but all of the national championships, from the racing that we've already seen in Asia, in Thailand, in Italy, in Europe, and then other ones that are still in the pipeline, some secret ones I can't tell you about, some others that have been muted, from America to the Middle East, across the whole world. TCR is taking over touring cars, and that is a wonderful thing, because it means the cars will be affordable for the drivers. There'll be plenty of spare parts. Drivers can jump around from country to country without needing different cars, different specs, different tires. And that is the concept of TCR. Some very, very silly person on Motors TV Twitter the other day asked if TCR was like GT3. Well, I can confirm to you that TCR is basically the GT3 model. The idea. The same spec car racing in multitude of national series with a international series as its headline act. And what you're watching today is that headline act. Time locally, it's coming up to 6 o'clock. Wonderful hue on the tarmac. And there are the boys running the Romeo Ferraris Mulsanne Racing Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Lovely little car. Still wanting a drive, John Gentry. Although he's there, so he can't hear me. Mario Ferraris will be in that car this weekend. Peter Fullin not here. And sadly, Michela Cerruti's seemingly still pretty ill. I hope we see her in Macau for the end of the season. I hope she gets better soon, primarily. But her car is here. It's making the trip around the whole world. Lovely to have somebody in that car, that second car for Macau. But then, of course, there is the added risk in Macau as well. So Morbidelli and Galliana for West Coast Racing in the pits. We think Galliana's going to start from the end of pit lane. Morbidelli, I think, has gone back into the box. And actually confirmation that there is no car at the end of pit lane, therefore he won't be starting at all. So that's a disaster for West Coast Racing. They are only running 3 cars and they're down to 1 already. And Kevin Gleeson had a problem in qualifying. pressure starts to build then. Round 19 of the championship has the green flag at the back, and we are about to go racing here in Malaysia. Who's got a good start? Well, Mario Ferrari's in the Alfa Romeo, pops out from behind. Roberto Colciago's made a good start, as has Mikhail Grashov. Grashov needing to go onto the grass to get round, but I think he's going to make that one sticky. Now squeezes Colciago to the inside line. He has the overlap, and he goes into the lead. Pepe Ariola has not made a good start. He's right in the mix of things there, alongside his teammate James Nash, I think. Nash, normally a good starter, looks like he's made another good one, trying to go around the outside of Ariola. That's a very important move for the championship. He's managed to make it stick. Ariola has not had a good start at all. Bickering further back, the Ford of Nicky Pastorelli. Wonderful looking car, still some development to do here. And here comes Colciago down the inside of Grashov to take the lead back. Oh, and someone right across the circuit on the grass, and that's a pile up. That's Andy Yan. Inexperience there from the Hong Kong driver, and he's taken out at least one of his teammates, if not both of them. Nightmare. Third position, Stefano Camini. Good start from Camini. He's got ahead of Jean Carbonet, so the guys at the front didn't make a good start. The guys mid-pack made a much better start. Camini pushing on now. This is important for the championship. He's the heaviest car, but he is 2 places ahead of James Nash. Jean Carbonet behind all 3 of his championship contenders. Grashov not looking strong on this opening lap, and Camini goes down the inside. Wonderful move. Heavy on the brakes, but got it stuck. And all this bickering is allowing Colciago to scamper off into the distance. Mato Homolo still in the mix there. James Nash trying to go around the outside of him. Not going to happen through turn 11. And Ariola now having a look at Nash with Jean Carbonet behind him. Then Borkovic, then Tashi. All the usual suspects at the sharp end, and David Kajaya it was who was knocked out of contention. What a shame, because I think it was Andy Yan who made the mistake. Down the back straight then. An 11-lap encounter. And Mato Homolo on the defensive. We've got a yellow flag. I don't know why the yellow flag was fluttering. It came back in. Oh, there we go. Safety car onto the track. They can't move David Kajaya's car, so the safety car has come out to pick them up. And there the marshals. How many does it take to push a Volkswagen Golf? 8 by the looks of things. Shouldn't be that heavy to push. Right, so here's the start then. Really poor getaway from Ariola, bunched up, and he defended from Jean Carbonet. So Venet then had to get out of it, and that allowed Stefano Camini around the outside of him. So not only did Ariola compromise his start, but he also compromised Camini, Jean Carbonet's start as well. And those two shared a nice evening in Bali together. So there'll be words to be said after that. And we think we might have a jump starter, but is it Mikhail Grashov, who perhaps was a little bit too excited? It was a very good start from 3rd position. Let's have a quick look. Oh, it's miles back. It's Douglas Koo, still struggling with the clutch on his Seat. And so Douglas Koo, 19th position. And here is the accident. So the 3 Liqui Moly cars on the right-hand side there. What's going on? Nicky Pastorelli on the very inside defending. And that forces Andy Yan off the circuit. So look at the top of your screen. Big defense from Nicky Pastorelli. He's actually trying to go down the inside of one of the other Liqui Moly. Andy Yan goes into David Kajaya. Heisemans was in there as well with a little bit of damage. And it was all very cautious going through that turn 4, wasn't it? Everyone was kind of really careful on the brakes. Ah, no. So Nicky Pastorelli in the pits. Maybe just to check over to see if the car's okay. Didn't see any... oh, Andre Meis. That's an interesting one. He's not even here this weekend. Didn't see any problems for Nicky Pastorelli, but maybe further around the lap there's a bit of contact. I can see just below me in the commentary booth that the car doesn't look like it's running straight. So we've got the accident investigated at the end of the race, a new concept from Race Direction to investigate all the accidents post-race. Let's have a look at this Ford then. Any contact will be on the right-hand side of the car. The left-hand side should have been okay. He just needs to get a wriggle on and try and catch up with the back of the safety car queue, because now we'll be going back out again. So the rear's all right. Oh, he's got something going on the left front there, look. Is there scuffing or either the tyre? Something strange there. So let's have a look. Something is rubbing on that tyre at the front. No damage by the looks of things. Very strange. Anyway, here is the safety car, and the safety car is coming around what looks like the final corner. So we're going to have another lap with the safety car. Well, that'll allow Pastorelli to catch up with the queue. Gives a breather for the guys with the harder deal to do with tyres. The track temperature, by the way, 44 degrees, air temperature 31. With those cars that were particularly successful in Singapore last time out, they carry success ballast. As you can see, Kajaya's damage there, broken right front. So the three most successful drivers were Kamini. Kamini carries the maximum ballast, I think. Jean Carbonet carries ballast as well. I presume James Nash is the third one that carries ballast. So with ballast comes extra work for the tyres to do, and in the hot temperatures, that's not a good thing. Reminder then, Colciago leads from Kamini. Mikhail Grashov in third, Mato Homler fourth. Oriola must have got ahead of Nash. Now that changed around somewhere. And then Vinay is in seventh, Borkovic eighth, Tashi ninth, and Afanasiev in 10th point scoring. Safety car will come in this lap. I'm informed by the timing screens. Oh, it looks really good in the low sun here. So yeah, Oriola there confirmed to be ahead of Nash. I wonder where that happened and how close it was to the safety car, because we had a safety car board and flag come out just before the last turn, but then was withdrawn, which was a little bit strange. And then obviously as the cars went round that final turn, they then picked up the next safety car and yellow flag. So very different track temperature to what we had in qualifying. Qualifying happened very early in the morning. And so a very different condition for the tyres specifically. Safety car lights are out. We've got cars 62 and 9 have overtaken under yellow flags. So that's Borkovic and Tashi, who are teammates. Which was, Borkovic has gone up the inside of Tashi somewhere. But I'm sure we saw them in that order. So TCR always providing lots of intrigue. Oh, and look at that. Aggressive defense from Colciago. Stefano Camini almost pushing him along the final straight. We can now go racing. The safety car has gone into the pits. We can't overtake until we reach the green flags, however. And that newly resurfaced section on the last turn, very, very off camber, catching a few drivers out, and we saw Colciago understeering horribly to the outside. So did Kamini, and Grashov once again looking very racy as we get going for what will be 7 laps now. Grashov trying to go around the outside of Stefano Kamini. Couldn't make it stick there. Everyone bunches up a little bit. Oriola tacked onto the back of Mato Homler. Oriola, remember, third in the championship, really needs to score a chunk of points here. But for the moment, in the championship fight, it's Stefano Camini has the upper hand because he is second and on the podium. Colciago deep and direct on the brakes into turn 4. Gets away with it, though, as side-by-side further back, Afanasiev and Kevin Gleeson argue over what would have been 10th position. Oriola up the inside of Mato Homler, a little bit of bumping mid-corner. That's going to send Homler into the undergrowth. And now he's going to decide he's going to be a lawnmower. That's compromised Oriola, and it's put Nash ahead of Oriola down the inside. Or has Oriola kept it? No, Oriola, I think, managed to survive all the way around the outside there. Very, very brave from Pepe Oriola. And James Nash has fallen back into line. Those two fighting for the championship with Jean Carbonet behind. And this is the real problem about the fighting in this championship. You've got two sets of teammates racing for the title. And at the moment, James Nash is almost playing rear gunner to Pepe Oriola, and that's not really what he wants to be doing, as it's Nash who has the championship lead. Nash is in a good position for the second race, though. His P8 will mean he'll line up on the second row of the grid for the second race, and that should be a good advantage for him. Stefano Camini looking racy, trying to tack onto the back of Roberto Colciago. Lovely sunset racing here in Malaysia. Oh, Stefano Camini down the inside of Roberto Colciago, right to the apex, little bit of rubbing. What a move from Stefano Camini, decided on that really, really late. And now we've got him pointing in his mirrors to Roberto Colciago and saying, let's go forward. You follow me. I'm going to lead this race. You tack on behind, but Colciago's going to have none of it. All that he wants to do this weekend is prove that that Honda Civic TCR is the car to have in the International Series, and second is not enough. He wants to put another tack on the bedpost of the TCR International Series. Side by side once again. Colciago reclaims the lead. Wonderful stuff. Fair racing between these two. Worth saying that Stefano Camini also raced in TCR Benelux last weekend, so he's had 3 weekends of racing. He was not one of the drivers to go off on holiday, but plenty of racing and action for him. So Colciago now back ahead of Camini. Grashov under pressure from Oriola as Tin Citrai is in the pits. That's a shame. Need to get that car fixed for tomorrow. He's got pole position in race 2. Let's have a look at this overtaking move. Whoa, not much of a gap, but Stefano Camini found one. Little bit of rubbing on the apex. Not, there's a tiny touch, but really, that is touring car racing, and that's exactly what he wanted to do. He had the grip. Now Grashov super defensive, and Pepe Oriola's been caught out there because James Nash has just snuck up past him. Side by side between the Lukoil drivers. This is where it gets very nail-biting for the guys at Craft Bamboo. But James Nash has reclaimed that position, past Pepe Oriola and back into 4th position. What about Jean Carbonet? Can he get into the party? Can he try and pass Pepe Oriola whilst he was compromised? Obviously, Mikhail Grashov on the super defensive here. Oh, here he goes. Nash looks up the inside and just distracts Grashov from the apex a little bit, but he's not going to have the momentum down this back straight, and now it's slipstream territory, and it will be Oriola's benefit. Stefano Camini not close enough this time to make a move, I don't think, going into the braking zone at the final turn. But what about Oriola and Nash? Nash sits in the middle of the road. Oh, thinks about going up the inside, but a little bit of understeer just as he was trying to get the apex. And that is going to allow Oriola now to slipstream his way down this big, long front straight and into that tricky first turn. Horrible for touring cars that are front-wheel drive, as Afanasiev and Kevin Gleeson still bicker over 9th and 10th positions. Nash up the inside of Grashov. Oh, a bit of contact this time, just a little tag, and another tag as Oriola forces him through. But that hasn't worked for Oriola. He's lost 2 positions in the process. And now John Colvernet has elbowed Grashov out of the way. And here come the 2 B3 racing drivers of Attilo Tashi and Dusan Borkovic, who have benefited from that. And Oriola going super backwards now. Again, Oriola on the defensive, stays just ahead of Dusan Borkovic. And is that Mikhail Grashov with a puncture? I think it may well be. Disaster then for another West Coast racing car. Got bullied out the way. It was clear that he didn't have the pace, but really bullied through those first couple of corners. Lots of little contacts. And there he is. Has he got a puncture? I think he may well do. He's certainly limping back. Loris Heisemans getting involved with Kevin C. as Colciago and Camini are very, very close. Now it's Nash in 3rd position. Oh, we were a bit disappointed with Singapore, but this is wonderful. This is exactly what TCR is all about. Here comes Oriola, trying to tighten the line through that long, long, long right-hander at 13 and 14. No, that's a bit earlier in the lap. That's 10 and 11. It's a little trick you can do with touring cars. Just hang the inside and just get the overlap a little bit. Well, couldn't get close enough to tuck his way up the inside of Jean-Carl Bonnet. Colciago and Stefano Camini. Your front two. Slipstream for Camini. Is he going to try that move again? Colciago seems wise to it. We're on timed race now, so we've got 9 minutes and 50 remaining. And now Camini, a better exit out the final turn. But the problem is he's quite heavy, so his front tyres are going to start to be going off. Nash staying away from the pursuers, trying to not give them a slipstream. But Pepe Oriola looks to try and make his way past Jean-Carl Bonnet. Door very open. Door very open and indicators on as well. That's worrying for Jean-Carl Bonnet. Has he got a problem or has he hit that by mistake? He's the same Jean-Carl Bonnet that's been so successful in IndyCar, in single-seaters, in GTs as well, in Blancpain Series. Raced a multitude of different cars, and it's taken him a couple of races to get used to TCR, but now he's really in the thick of it, and he picked up enough points when he was getting used to it early doors to be a contender. Happy to say that at the moment there's no investigation into any of those little touches. And Grashov coming into the pits. Definitely a problem. Let's have a look. I think that's a left front steering problem. Right, Colciago again under pressure from Stefano Camini, but Camini's sitting pretty at the moment. He's got time. Doesn't need to make the move now. He knows that Colciago is going to be very aggressive when he tries to pass back, so Camini could just chill and then pounce when he needs to. Unless, of course, James Nash starts to make inroads on him. All four wheels off, no problems here. It's more of a disadvantage, really, than anything else. That's a lovely shot. Cocking a wheel, and if it's a bit too over-exuberant, then the car's sliding beautifully through there. Especially with the low sun now. That white Honda looking particularly yellow. Let's have a look at David Kajaya. Going to Georgia next year. It's a home race for David Kajaya. That's going to be fantastic. But no luck today, and it is steering problems for Grashov. So West Coast Racing have a very, very busy evening. Let's have a look what happened. Oh, that was contact at the rear, then contact at the front steering. Then he gets pushed by Stefano Camini, who's got loading from Dusan Borkovic. And then I think that contact there was where it cut the steering broke. So 3 pieces of contact on different parts of the car. And the Honda couldn't take it anymore. But we have a Honda at the front. And that is very significant. That's why this car is here with Target. Honda have 6 wins to their name. Seat with 7. And 4 of those were with the Mikhail Grashov, Russian driver. But the favoured car is, at the moment, the Seat in this championship. More and more Volkswagens, especially from the Asian championship. And Honda want to prove that they have a good car too, especially with other brands coming in next year. And Alfa Romeo, Subaru, Ford getting ever stronger as well. The competition is high. And it's all about these brands selling their cars to customers and then going out and winning, providing them a good platform. And therefore, target competition. And Gianluca Bruno, who is here this weekend, working also he's working for Italian television as a commentator in Formula One, so it's a busy boy. But he's the guy that guided Gabriele Tarquini to the World Touring Car Championship a few years ago, and long-term engineer for Tarquini, knows his stuff. At the moment, he's got himself a leader. Car 5, Colciago is under investigation for not being in the start position correctly. Now we probably can get a replay of the start to see if he's in the right box. That's very interesting, because he is our leader at the moment. If he gets a penalty, then that will put Camini and Nash and Oriola on the podium. Oriola looks a little bit faster than Nash at the moment. Through that final turn, certainly had more front end in the car. And now Nash providing a slipstream to Oriola, as Colciago is providing a slipstream to Comini, and Oriola late on the brakes. That puts Nash, you see, on the defensive, and now Oriola can try to switch back and tuck down the inside. No, Nash holds that inside line. He's a wise old fox, is James Nash. He's the least hot-headed, I guess, of most of the drivers here. Really calculated driver. Independent champion a few years ago. And his return to touring cars after a few years in GTs. And he's basically come back like a duck to water. It's like his home. Very successful single-seater driver before he made the switch to front-wheel drive. But really, really is a very, very calculated driver. Always thinking, next weekend, I don't want to be heavy in Macau, so I don't want to be too successful here. Well, at the moment, you're going to pick up some decent points for third position, and you're going to be atop a podium. Just out the window, I've seen the Alfa Romeo come into the pits of Maria Ferrari, so that's a shame. Still developing that Alfa, but there are 4 now out and about, which is nice. And they are really, you know, in comparison to the big teams like Honda, Seat and Volkswagen, very different. There's Tin Citrai. He'll be on pole position for tomorrow's race. Premier position between FP3 and qualifying in Formula 1. Oriola taking liberties on the curbs. Unsettles the car, that's for sure. Now let's have a look at the car out of position. Oh, it's difficult to tell. He's certainly quite forward, but very difficult. He didn't jump the start, did he? Just could be very far forward. And yeah, difficult to say. Actually, Oriola looks to be a little bit to his right, really. But they're looking at 5. I don't think there'll be any further investigation from that angle, but difficult to tell. Either way, Colciago is still leading. We've got a few laps left. 2 minutes and 50 remaining in the race. And he's still yet to be under the same kind of pressure that Comini put him under at the start. Colciago been racing for many, many years in touring cars at world level as well as national level. Oh, this time Oriola's got the overlap with Nash. Nash needs to hold the apex here. Oh, the two of them swapping apexes, swapping the ideal racing line. And now can Oriola stick one up the inside at turn 4? It's close enough, but he needs to be brave on the brakes, and James Nash will know to try and defend a little bit. Doesn't actually. Knows that Oriola can't find a way through there. And again, Oriola using more of the track, more momentum, and there could be an overlap here coming into this very, very long left-hander. Not quite. I bet there would have been an overlap if it wasn't Oriola's teammate, but he backed out just a little bit there to avoid contact. I'm still not convinced this is how it's going to finish, you know. Anything can happen, and now Stefano Comini starts with the flashy lights, the distraction, and Roberto Colciago, just that moment where he looks into his mirrors and then misses his braking point or his apex. That's the idea, but I'm afraid it's probably in vain. We're going to get one more lap out of this, I think. As they come across the line, there'll be less than a minute remaining, so that will be the final lap of the race. One chance for Stefano Comini. Colciago goes defensive. He's going to really, really upset his momentum onto this back straight, and I'm sure this is going to be an opportunity now for Comini. Much better momentum out through 13 and 14, but actually not close enough to get down the inside. He did that thing before, but again, Colciago this time turns in just a little bit earlier. Can Stefano Comini do anything? So this is then the final lap. Radio communications to the drivers. Your last chance to overtake. You've got 2 minutes and 18 seconds to do it. Stefano not close enough into the first turn. Still feels like there's an opportunity though. The body language of that car is not saying I've settled, but he'll know that Colciago desperately wants the victory. Heavy backing from Yas to be here this weekend, who build these Honda Civic Type Rs? TCRs, based on the Type R. The idea, like it was in Macau last year with Rob Huff, to prove that this is the car to have in TCR in the right hands, and in the right hands it seems to be working. Engineer and driver confirmation, engineer and driver, as Stefano Comini goes a little bit wide there. The combination of engineer and driver, absolutely perfect. The reliability of his Honda looking good. Prepared not far actually from the circuit, because even though Yas is an Italian company, they have a base here in Malaysia. Oh, much more momentum taken by Stefano Comini through there. Can he carry that through? Colciago just missed the apex again. He's clearly struggling with the tyres. It's late on in the race, and again, 4 wheels off. Comini does the same though, keeps the momentum going. Through these 2 sweepers, can he jam it up the inside into the braking zone of 14? He's getting very close. But the curbs throw the car sideways, and then he gets sideways as well. And I think that might be day done for both of them. One final opportunity, one final corner. A horrible off-camber hairpin, newly resurfaced this year. He's done it before into this final turn. Can Stefano Comini send one up the inside? Colciago goes super defensive. Switchback. No, not quite. No, there's a bit of rubbing. It's going to be a bit of rubbing. It's going to be an overlap to the line. It's going to be a drag to the line, but not quite enough. Stefano Comini provides us once again with wonderful entertainment. And that was fantastic. Roberto Colciago, Gianmaria Bruno win for target competition for Yas and for the Honda Civic TCR, ahead of Stefano Comini, who made it really hard for him. And James Nash will be on the podium in 3rd position, ahead of Oriola, Vernet. And target competition, happy with that. Mugen here as well, representing the engine department. Let's have a look at this again. So Colciago's super defensive. He wants to claim and sit on that inside line, but he found it was very slippery on the brakes. And then just holds on the brakes as much as possible, but Comini kind of rubs him. And that was the point where Comini lost momentum. Too much of a rub, you slow yourself down, and the drag to the line went Colciago's way. Well, lovely entertaining racing. We've got another race tomorrow afternoon, local time, between free practice and qualifying. Oh, and Jean Carvonet's in a bit of a rush to get home. Not sure he's a very happy man, Benet. 5th in the race. Points-wise, I'm not sure that's going to be very good for his championship challenge. Confirmation of the result then. Colciago ahead of Comini. James Nash in 3rd, and then Oriola 4th. Jean Carvonnet picks up points for 5th. Borkovic and Tashi up to 6th and 7th, although they're under investigation. And then Gleason 8th, Afanasiev 9th, and Mato Homela shuffled down to 10th position by the end. Oh, we could almost be in the desert. Look at that. Wonderful. Heisman's missed out on points, as is C, Jan, Felipe de Souza, Ku, Pastorelli in 9th, Will O'Brien in 17th, and Mira Ferraris is classified, but he was in the pits a couple of times. That is stunning. So it's the Italian national anthem on the podium. How about that? There'll be plenty of Ferrari fans here in Formula One hoping for that this weekend. I think James Nash will be happy with that. I think that points-wise it'll put Comini, though, ahead. I can tell you that Jean Carvonnet is absolutely flat out back down to pit lane. He's clearly not happy. I wonder whether he feels like he was unfairly shuffled about. Oriola missing out on the podium, but good haul of points for his championship. Problem is, behind Nash and Camini, and those two will be happy. I think there'll be a few happy Italian phrases between Colciago and Stefano Camini. Camini obviously Swiss, but Italian. And how about that? Pole position on his debut and claims the victory. Stefano Camini should be happy with that. There's the horn. And that means basically it's a win for him. The horn comes out when he's suitably satisfied. Now, normally I'd be able to translate what's being said, but the Italians have got rather excited here, and I've got no idea. I need my exec producer to help me out. James Nash, though, comes over. 4.3 seconds back in the end. Yeah, very happy with that too. Absolutely. There is Stefano Camini. When we saw him on the podium, he won this race last year, the very first TCR International race. He was almost cleanly shaven, had a nice, smart haircut. Look at what he's become. What he's become is a man who's still very much in contention for the championship. He's got a very different character in James Nash to deal with for 3 more races this season. And the top 3 drivers now head up to the cooling off area. It'll be hot in those cars. Track temperature was 41, air still 31. No air conditioning, of course, in the car. Lots of heat from the turbos and the engines. So all of the pipes and steel, roll cage and floor and gearbox have all been radiating heat into the driver. And there'll be a lot of fluid lost, even in a 20-minute race. Colciago, Stefano Camini, and a good smile from James Nash. Hey, that's what a holiday can do, Nasha. Also a man to take a break from everyday life and chill out in Bali.
Siamo tutti e due lo stesso gioco.
There are the points then. 1 point between Camini, who regains it, ahead of Nash, Oriola, and Venet fades a bit further back.
You made a good start this time.
Yeah, cool. Like in history, but this time I turned it.
You two have gone.
No. Seconda.
Antonio, one of the main men at SEAT, giving the Honda guys a bump start. That's nice to see. Actually, most of the Honda mechanics giving the SEAT mechanics giving the Honda boys a help. That's TCR, isn't it? Right, let's get the podium going then. Let's hear the wonderful cheers for James Nash.
In second place after a great race, Stefano Camini from Switzerland.
Stefano Camini then, second position.
A great debut.
Looks very, very happy with that. And adds to his points.
We will hear the Italian.
And Roberto Colciago is the winner. the Italian national anthem then in Malaysia. Sepang, Friday evening, ringing out for Roberto Colciago, but also for all those Yas boys back in Italy who build these TCR races. A long allegiance with Honda, and that will be a really, really nice reward for them. Nasha is happy with that, isn't he? Wow, great to see. Problem is, if he's that successful, he'll be heavy in Macau.
Congratulations, and now the celebration.
We've got a race tomorrow, so the champagne heads outwards. Oh no, of course it doesn't. Stefano Camini breaks regulation. And there are our top three. Make sure you join us for the next race of the TCR International Series. Saturday afternoon. Slight change. And if the race today, and if the race tomorrow is anything like the race today, we are in for a real treat from Sepang in Malaysia. As the championship battle hots up even more, just 1 point separates Stefano Camini from James Nash. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for more TCR action.